We're talking this morning with Scott Vaughn, CEO of the Standard Group in Reading. Scott, thanks for taking the time this morning.
Very welcome.
Everything back up and running since Hurricane Sandy came through?
Well, we got lucky with all our plants. We didn't lose any power, but house did, so we'll see how that comes back.
One of the things, you and I have been emailing a little bit, and one of the things that struck me is how much you've been able to grow since the recession. Talk a little bit about that. What kind of companies have you acquired, and what's your thinking behind that?
Well, you know, the printing industry has suffered from overcapacity for quite some time, and with an aging ownership base also. And I think the Great Recession clarified for a lot of owners that they would have to reinvent their businesses to meet the new economy or look for an exit strategy. And we've been very lucky that many of our former really tough competitors chose to put their faith in us to carry their businesses on. In the past 4 years, we've bought four of the printing companies.
What kind of companies do you look for? Do you look for ones that are close by? Are you trying to expand your geographic footprint?
You know, I think the first thing we look for is a good culture. If you're not honest, if you're not ethical, it'll never work in my mind. Once we jump that barrier, we're looking for like product that they produce, which is higher end marketing pieces. And we also have a pharmaceutical component too that we do. And the final thing is that I'm really looking for companies that make us better. It's not just about incremental sales, that they have to offer us something that make us better than we were before.
Give an example of that. How have one of the recent acquisitions made you better?
Well, you know, they each bring something different to the table. You know, one acquisition brings us a facility that is more modern than our headquarters here in Reading, which is, we started here in 1895. Others bring us a expertise in the digital arena, and others bring us expertise in smaller jobs, since that seems to be the trend of where all marketing seems to be going.
You mentioned digital. Technology's had a big effect on the printing business.
Correct.
What kind of adjustments in your business model have you had to make because of technology?
Many people think that when you go digital, it's just another machine, you hit a button, and it's smaller runs, and it's not. It forces you to know how to use the tool, meaning that you have to understand what your customers are attempting to accomplish so that you can work with them to give them more targeted marketing pieces. That's been one of the big shifts I think I've seen in printing, where in the past we were just asked to produce whatever someone had ready to go. Whereas nowadays, the better companies are more consultative and delivering results rather than a product. And digital has accelerated that process because you know, of the ability to do shorter runs that are more targeted. It really makes you focus on what are you trying to accomplish rather than a scope and volume of purchasing that's economical, so you buy a whole bunch of the same thing and just hope it works.
Do you have in-house designers?
Well, the short answer is yes, the longer answer is no, in that we do have people on staff that have had design companies, but it's not really a service we pitch because we support a lot of advertising agencies and we just don't want to compete in that field.
Who are your typical customers? What sectors do you work in? Do you have a base of reliable customers?
We do. It's fairly rare that anyone leaves us because we do track our quality. We're about a 99% on time with a 0.6% rework, which is just phenomenal for our industry. But our clients are more national in scope. Teleflex is a large one. Heineken, Tecate, Merck. So we've seen our client base go from a predominance of smaller agencies sort of focused to larger national and global players.
One last question. I was struck by your involvement in fulfillment services. That seems to be pretty far away from the core printing business. Make that connection for me. How did you get into that?
Well, what we're trying to do is bring one-stop shopping for the marketers that are out there. It used to be way back when they would get something printed, then they had to send it to a mailer, or they would have to send it to a warehouse for distribution. And we realized that if we brought everything in-house for them, they could write one check, make one phone call, and they know that their project would be taken care of from front to back without having to coordinate a whole bunch of different vendors. It's really been a nice fit for us, and it allows us to do different things. For instance, we ran Fulton Bank's Kindle project. When you open a new account, you got a Kindle. We sourced all the Kindles, and warehouse sent out and did really the logistics for them on it. Technically not a printing project, but the marketing department had a need and we responded.
We'll let that be the last word. Scott, thank you again for the time today.
Dan, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.